There are tons of creators out there who are too afraid to speak out on the state of the industry because they don't want to be blacklisted. And recently, the Dragon Quest creator came out and spoke about how unhappy he was with some of the decisions they made with Dragon Quest III HD-2D remake, like removing gender, and now he is being attacked ruthlessly for it. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live stream, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, you would think someone who is the reason why a franchise exists should be able to speak his mind, even if it's negative. But of course, there are those on social media who are now attacking him simply for discussing how unhappy he is with the state of the industry and things like censorship being forced upon creatives, but also gender ideology. This is a That Park Place article. It says Yuji Horii, the creator of Dragon Quest, is being maligned as an NZ and Shud for questioning gender ideology being forced upon the remake. So I did make a previous video on this, but recently he talked about how he was, disappointed with the kind of state of the industry and how a lot of creatives have to temper themselves and hold back their original visions because of ratings boards like the ESRB and PEGI, and how there are tons of people behind these organizations who do not play video games, yet they are the reasons why content is censored. They are the ones making the decisions, which is ridiculous. But he also discussed gender ideology, talking about how, unfortunately, that is a big issue right now. He discusses how the removal of the choice to choose between male and female bothered him. In Dragon Quest, you used to be able to choose between a male and female main character, but now you can't choose between a man and a woman anymore. We have to label them as type 1 and 2, and I really wonder who's even complaining about this. I totally and completely agree. I think that it should be a man and a woman. Now, in a lot of new video games, there is the decision being made to label them body type 1 and 2 or body type A and B. And while I think that is ridiculous, I think it is even more absurd when we are talking about a remake, because in a remake, you are trying to get that content as close to what it was originally, just with new graphics or music or voice acting, whatever they're changing in a remake, and of course sometimes remaster, and you should be trying your very best to get it as close to that original content as possible. So when you're needlessly changing things like gender, for example, it just looks fucking absurd. And I agree, who is complaining about this except for the sensitive snowflakes on social media who don't buy video games? That's the worst thing, is the fact that they are changing all these different elements of video games in remakes to not offend people, but you're trying to change things to get sales from people who do not play video games. They're not going to buy this no matter what you do. It's like the Resident Evil remakes. There are people who complained about the panty shots, and oh my god, how sometimes you have to look up a character's skirt if she's like moving across the ground. They do not play these games, so you are adding all of this censorship for literally nobody, and you're just pushing away potential customers who don't want to deal with this BS. Now, of course, instead of simply saying, hey, I don't like his take, I don't like his opinion, these sensitive snowflakes on social media are now attacking him, calling him very vile things. There are those who are saying Yuji going Nazi was not on my bingo sheet, all because he said, why can't we just have male and females in video games? Why do we have to call them body type 1 and 2 or A and B? It's really just that simple. He wasn't attacking anybody specific. He wasn't causing drama with any other specific creators. He's just simply like, hey, I don't like the direction that the video game industry is going. I think this is dumb. It should be male and female. That's what most normal people think. Pretty much welcoming culture war tourists who tend to be Nazis, aka, people who are levying very valid criticisms towards these games. Instead of saying, oh, hey, yeah, there's just people who are going to agree with him who I don't like or I don't agree with. It's always an ist, a phobe, a Nazi, something just absolutely vile. These people claim to rally behind diversity and inclusivity by being the most disgusting, terrible people possible. You also have users on the Gaming Circle Jerk subreddit describing both Hori and Torishima as douchebags. Torishima is the Final Fantasy designer, and of course, Hori is the Dragon Quest creator. These are two very notable people within the industry, and while yes, they do not represent every single Japanese creative's opinions or stance, they do still have very valid criticisms, and their voices deserve to be heard because, again, without both of these people, Final Fantasy wouldn't be what it is today, and Dragon Quest wouldn't even exist in totality. There are people out there who show no respect for creatives simply because they're older or they're men, which is just disgusting, in my opinion. It's not something that I personally would ever do. But you also have users saying no surprise people associated with Toriyama would be this chuddy. Every time I see something new from the dinosaurs in charge of Dragon Quest, I get happy that I don't like Dragon Quest. Easily the worst of the remaining JRPG franchises to me. It just sounds like they're pretty salty and angry that you didn't have a creative of this caliber backing your stance, that he would dare to have an opinion that you disagree with. These people take everything so personally. It's really not that serious that he said, oh yeah, I just think that body type A and B is stupid. That's what most normal people would say. But instead of just saying, yeah, I completely disagree with him, they come out and say these absolutely disgusting and terrible things like calling him a Nazi. I'm sorry, it's not okay to go around calling people that word. Or chud, for example. They try to use the word chud like it's some big own, but at the end of the day, it really isn't. Now, I highly doubt he's looking at social media and seeing these absolute freaks melting down over his statement, but it is kind of funny that he simply voiced his opinion and they're so bothered by it. So, yeah, I mean, this Dragon Quest creator has faced a lot of backlash over the past few days simply for speaking his opinion, and I don't think that this backlash is just going to, quietly die down. These people are extremely loud, they are very vocal, and they will do anything to be heard, but it just looks like a lot of Westerners who are melting down over the fact that he doesn't support their ideology. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.